What is good, everyone, and welcome back to the Nostalgia Plus Ultra podcast. My name is Nostalgia. Joining me is As Told by Zoe. What's good, my guy?
What's good, dude?
Not much, man. Big chill, and I'm excited for today's episode. Today is the first ever themed episode for Nostalgia Plus Ultra. I'm super excited about it. Today, we're going to be getting into Neon Genesis Evangelion. It is something that Zoe decided to pick up, and he wanted to kind of binge through, so I tried to do it with him, and now we're here. So what's funny is I had the idea of taking every 10th episode and making it like a theme. So like episode 10 is a theme, episode 20 is a theme, but it's not, I mean, obviously this being episode 8, it doesn't really fit the theme, but shit. But it doesn't matter. We can do every 8th or whatever. We could just do it on episode. We could do another themed episode on episode 10. It really doesn't matter. But sure. But yeah. So like I don't know how long it took you to kind of go through all the stuff, but I definitely took me three to 4 days to go through the show and the movies. Because what's funny is I was rewatching it again at one point. And I stopped on episode 15. And so when I picked it up, I had no idea what the fuck was happening. So I had to go back and rewatch. I had to go back and rewatch it from start to finish. And the in a word, for the original and the movies, in a word, emotional damage. That's just the key thing for me.
Bro. Messed me
Emotional damage. It was bad. It was so bad. Oh my God. Especially just going through that, it was bad.
I didn't even have like a reason why like picking them up, because the thing is, I didn't know before watching the show. I didn't know the rebuild movies even happened.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to watch it for the culture. I've heard so much about it. I just need to watch the show.
Yeah.
It took me about 3-4 days as well, but I think I started one day before you, because I told you after. I blasted through 10 episodes in one day, because I don't know if anyone listens to this, they're a fan of Ludwig. I started playing Super Auto Pets. It's the most addicting game ever.
Oh my God.
So I have Auto Pets right here and Evangelion right there. I was just for like until like 5 a.m. one night.
Jesus Christ, dude. You're an animal. Absolute animal.
It was fun.
All right. So getting into just the themes episode and what we're kind of do. So considering the fact that Evangelion is 26 episodes and a movie, and then subsequently 4 movies on top of that as sequel type movies. I'm putting that in air quotes for those in audio, sequel type movies. There's a lot to cover. So for us to kind of do it with no plan, we'd be bouncing around back and forth, and it would kind of get kind of jumbled up. So what we're going to do is kind of split things up into certain categories and kind of go through there and talk about them. So first, before we do go into any kind of speculation, any kind of stuff like that, we'll just start with the storylines. All right. So how did you, as far as the overall, just overarching story of Eva, like what did you think about it?
I enjoyed everything, and I mean from the first episode to the last movie. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really the way it ends is fulfilling, but I do think if someone never found out about the rebuild movies and only saw the original show plus End of Evangelion, which when I say original story, I lump them together. End of Evangelion's basically the last 2 episodes. I think if someone only saw the original story, I think if you didn't want to watch the rebuild movies, I think you could end it there. Genuinely, I think the original holds up by itself. Now, if you were like a really big fan, like if the show hooked you, like it hooked me, it is cool to see the rebuild movies and realize the different headspace that Hideki Anno, the director, was in when making both stories. It's cool to see the growth in not only Hideki Anno but Shinji, the main character.
Right.
I think he is more. He's more of a self-insert than people might think. Not self-insert in like an annoying way, like ugh, you can totally tell this is the director. No, but like I said, you can tell the director was in a really dark place when making the original show, and then he got out of that funk. And I feel like since I think Evangelion, the show, was like his first big break. I think you said that earlier before we started recording. And I just feel like he looked back on it, and what he wasn't not proud of it, but was like, damn, like I was in a really, really dark place. I want to revisit this in the mindset that I have now. And I think he did a really good job in both. Even though the original can get kind of confusing if you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
But that's just like, you could say the same thing about like a Christopher Nolan movie.
Right.
Like
exactly.
if you're watching Tenet while working, you're not gonna understand shit.
Oh,
it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Not even close.
Yeah.
So I guess for I did some research before we started recording, and just to kind of put things in perspective with Hideki Anno, he was doing something with Gainax before Eva, which was, I can't remember. I think the name of it's like Nadia something, right? It's like
Nadia, the Secret of Blue Water. I got it.
Okay, yeah, Secret of Blue Water. So when he was doing that, like it went through like production hell, like he was going through a lot of stuff. So what he decided to do in that time was he took a few steps back, and in order to prep the last 4 episodes of that show, and left it all to somebody else to do the middle portions. The middle portion of the episodes were really bad, and and although the last 4 episodes are really good, like it just caused a lot of problems for Gainax. And then on top of that, they took out a bunch of money to go make a movie for Nadia, only for it to not get out of pre-production. So in that sense, all that, like the failures and like not really living up to expectations, kind of caused a big chunk of like of a depressive episode for Anno, which kind of led to him having this catharsis of putting out Evangelion. And I think what's crazy is, I know we're going to talk about the characters in a second, but a lot of the characters and a lot of the storylines, especially the mental aspect of it, when it dives deep into the mental state of all his characters, almost all of them have to either or have something to do with him and his feelings and what happened with that Nadia window or whatever that show was, right? Yeah. All the characters are pieces of him and his psyche when going through that process. So I think in that regard, it's really cool. And then plus, Shinji is kind of the insert like otaku character, like the surrogate otaku character that literally everybody can imprint themselves on, and I think it's really good. But I'm getting off topic as far as the characters. We'll get to that in a second. So, story wise, I'll split it into 2 with Evangelion the original, which includes the end of Evangelion, and then the rebuild movie. So starting with the first one. It's just funny because I remember seeing, when I was looking up stuff for Evangelion, it was always like, you don't get Evangelion. And it's funny because it's not because it's like it's just too mega brain for you. That's not the case when people say that. It's more so just because you're not necessarily supposed to get it. You're just supposed to take what you think take your interpretation of it and just kind of put it into your own perspective. Like, it's not really anything for you to understand. There's so many things that aren't expounded on, capitalized on, paid off. There's like a lot of that stuff just doesn't happen. Like when I'm watching the show and it's like the world building is so vast and very intriguing, and there's a lot of lore deep embedded into the show that just doesn't get paid off or explained at all. Like how the spear of, I know they talk about it in the movies, but how the spear of Longinus comes about, how the first impact got started, like in a deeper detail, how the first impact got started, what the deep sea scrolls really say, and how those came about. They don't really explain. They just talk about the deep sea scrolls. They don't even say how those came about. You know what I'm saying?
You don't even see, like, you only see one character from Zele. Like, there's so much.
You only see him.
There's so much hidden, and I do think it's on purpose because, like, at a point. By the way, this is gonna be full of spoilers for anyone who's listening who hasn't seen it.
If this is a whole episode on Neon Genesis Evangelion, so you've been warned just off of the premise alone.
Like, at a point in the show, fucking when Kaji takes Misato to the terminal dogma, and he's like, oh look, it's Adam. It's not. Like, everyone thinks it's Adam until Koaru gets down there and it's like, oh wait, this is Lilith. So like Hideki, it's not that Hideki Anno didn't explain everything because he forgot. It's because, like, it's almost like we know as much as the characters and the characters know nothing.
Right. Like, and they don't talk about who Sele is and what their actual motives are. They're just kind of the driving force behind I guess like a separate antagonist to Gendo too, if you really think about it that way. So with that, the story it kind of builds up on itself in that way. And then going on the movies real quick, the movies were definitely more cool mecha anime and less psychological thriller. Yeah. And I think that's not a bad thing. I think what the charm of Ava in the beginning was definitely the mental psyche of all the characters involved, because none of them have redeeming qualities, but we'll get to that in a second. And just the mental aspect of everything going on and how heavy that is to everybody involved. When you get to Ava, you only really see, when you get to the movies, the Rebuild series, you only really see the mental toll and the mental, I guess, strain that people have when you get into 3.33 and 3.0 plus 1.0. Like, those last two movies start to kind of get back into that form where it's like, hey, like, this is a very trying time for a lot of people. Because you got to think between 2.22 and 3.33, there's 14 years had passed between those two movies. Yeah. So a lot of shit happened. So 3.33 and then the last one kind of has all that emotion, that mental strain on it as well. But man, oh man, is the original a mind fuck of a show that honestly, like, generally concerned me after watching it.
It concerned me too, and like, dude, the mental aspect of the original story is what hooked me in so much. The only reason I rated both the show and End of Evangelion a 9, and the only reason they'd be a 10 if they were together. Okay. Because I do love every single second of the original show except the final scene. But here's the thing. I'm not watching this in 1995 having to wait 2 years for End of Evangelion. Right. I watched End of Evangelion. I mean, I watched Neon Genesis, and then clicked End of Evangelion. It's right there. it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, if they were connected, if they were together, like, I do understand how that can be kind of annoying. If they were connected, I think they'd. For me, the original show is a 10 out of 10. I don't know. I mean, I kind of had the same feeling when I saw Sonny Boy, and we've talked about this on the show. Yeah. The original ending is like you said, there's a lot of emotional damage, and I think when an artist, an author, a director, a musician, it's weird to say. I like when artists go through depressive episodes. I think that's when they make their best shit. My favorite Mac Miller album might be Faces. I fucking love Faces, and that's his.
He was coked out on Faces.
That's his darkest mixtape album, whatever you want to call it. But it's raw, it's real, it's personal, and I do get that feeling from the original show. I really. It makes you feel empty. I think you said it when we talked about it. It's empty, but not in a bad way. It's
Yeah.
It's like you just finished listening to someone talk.
Yeah, here's my thing. I actually like the last scene because of certain things, but I'll kind of get into what that's called. It's called the Gynax ending, and I know I texted that to you when you first started watching it.
Sure.
The Gynax ending, for those that don't know, is when is primarily used by Studio Gynax and low key Studio Trigger too, where the ending episode, whether that be the last few episodes or just the last scene, are either like mindfuck type endings, or like cliffhangers to sequels that will never happen. Right? So with Ava, the last scene in there is them just all showing up around Shinji, clapping and doing whatever and saying congratulations, right? That's a Gynax ending because it doesn't really give you any real closure. Or even the last two episodes are really the Gynax ending because it's just kind of a mindfuck type thing. I would say another example of the Gynax ending would probably be Darling in the Franxx, which is hilarious because Darling in the Franxx is literally like another version of Ava, if you really want to think about it like that.
Yeah,
I've
seen. Before I saw the show, I got them both confused.
Yeah, so for Darling in the Franxx, I think I can't remember exactly the episode, but it's not the midway point. It's like a couple episodes past the midway point where shit just goes off the rails. And like plot points start happening. Nothing gets paid off. Its plot holes are huge. It doesn't make sense, right? And just kind of culminates in this big like space fight where nothing really gets resolved. And it's just like, I don't know. It's really weird. But that's another example of a Gynax ending. Even though it is Studio Trigger that made Darling in the Franxx, it still holds up in that kind of ending. So my thing is, when it comes to Neon Genesis Evangelion's Gynax ending, I actually think it makes sense in terms of how the story went. Because you also got to think too, they didn't have, like, their budget money was running out. They had a rush to finish it. So instead of them making this huge, crazy, bombastic Ava fight at the end where Shinji just kind of realizes himself and all this kind of stuff to culminate in this big ending, which they did with the end of Evangelion with these big fights and stuff and these huge effects. With the issue with budgeting and time constraints, they were like, okay, we're just going to turn these last two episodes into a therapy session and kind of and Ano decides to let all his feelings out. You explore all the characters as well as talk directly to the viewer too, because you got to think again. It's more of a Shinji is like kind of that insert otaku type person, and the message of it is, hey, don't stop hating yourself. Saying people, once you kind of go outside and interact with people, you can see that people actually genuinely like you, right? And go and it's basically just saying, kind of get over yourself, go outside and interact with people because you're going to have a better time doing that. Because a lot of it's funny, a lot of the themes in Ava have to do with escapism, and that's for different reasons. So it's escapism through cheap thrills when it comes to certain people. You get escapism through Shinji and that fucking the headphones, the tape recorder.
Yeah.
Escapism in your job and your work and thinking that your life has value on that. Like once you kind of get over that stuff and kind of move past that, you need to go interact with people because that's what's going to help you out in the long run. So I think that when Shinji realizes that, it finally just realizes that. I mean, in the context of the show, because obviously he doesn't actually learn anything.
Yeah.
Considering End of Evangelion, he doesn't really learn anything. But if you were to not have End of Eva and had that ending, the whole story be complete, because that's really what Anno was trying to say the entire time. It wasn't anything about the big fighting robots. It was more about just that kind of mental aspect. So I think so I generally like how they Gynaxed ending the show, but I guess if it was back in 1995, people would be pissed off about it.
And here's the thing, I do like the last 2 episodes, because that's where most of the subtext gets like put in the front. Like if you didn't notice something throughout the whole show, you were definitely gonna notice it during the therapy session, during episodes 25 and 26. So I do like that, and as overall, if End of Evangelion didn't happen, I do like the ending. It's the fact of how the last scene plays out. It's cool. It's cool because Shinji's like, no, I want to live. I don't want to die anymore. There's worth in my life, and this and that. But then like shit breaks, and then they're in the final world of Kingdom Hearts, and then everyone's just clapping, and then it literally cuts through every single character in the show, even if they were minor, just saying congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. That's because he finally figured it out.
But
regardless of who shows up in there, context or narrative wise, it still makes sense because those are all the people that have interacted with him at some point in time in the show.
It makes sense after I read episodes 25 and 26 are a dramatization of what happens in his head during End of Evangelion, which just it makes I texted you this before. The original story is a tragedy. Like, it's not supposed to be happy because, yeah, it's almost like Anno gave everyone a fake out. Like, look, the show ends happy, yay. But then End of Evangelion happens, and when he finally realizes, like, no, this isn't what I want. I want to live. I want to meet new people. I have worth in my life. He figures it out too late. And when Rei takes him out of instrumentality, also takes Asuka out of instrumentality, it's too late. She fucked up the world. She can't do anything about it. She can't magically bring the world back to what it was. Everyone's dead except for you, because 1, Shinji made a connection with Rei. 2, Rei is technically his mom. 3, Rei is technically Koharu as well, and he made a connection with Koharu. So obviously, like, those 3 characters mixed into one character love Shinji in whatever, like a friend way, in a homosexual way, in a motherly love way. They just care for Shinji, so they want to grant him his wish.
Right.
But so that also kind of means, like, his wish is being with Asuka a little bit. There's like this whole weird love-hate relationship going on between them. But also, I think Asuka's whole thing is like, yeah, she doesn't want to be alone, but she's too immature to realize that. So she rejects instrumentality. That's why I think she got picked as well. But going back to the whole Shinji thing, yeah, he realized, like, shit, like, my life has meaning. It's worth living, but it's way too fucking late. That's why I like the show so fucking much. It's a rug pull. You're not supposed to feel good. It's like
Yeah.
it's a gut punch. And
Yeah, definitely.
what I find so interesting, the poster for End of Evangelion, the famous uh Shinji and Asuka on the shore of a Red Sea with a giant head cut in half. That's the end. They literally spoil the movie for you, but it still hits.
Yeah.
What fucking movie poster has ever done that?
None. And I feel like more like, okay, movie posters, like a random tangent. Movie posters in, I guess, these last few years have been absolutely fucking terrible.
Yeah,
Like
they
every
suck.
poster for Spider-Man has been garbage. The Batman ones have been garbage. Everything has been trash. But that's just a whole random tangent. Yeah, so I guess we can move on to I guess our thoughts on the characters.
Yeah.
So besides, I guess, Shinji and Asuka, what other like character were you really like kind of attached to, or did you like really like their exploring their psyche?
I really I enjoyed Misato's whole, like, if you want to boil it down to something simple, it's like daddy issues, but
And survivor's guilt.
and definitely survival's guilt, but I think what most people would just pin the daddy issues because it's the most uncomfortable part of her. It's
Yeah.
like it starts off like when Shinji brings out the postcard when he's like about to meet her. And this is a whole thing throughout the show. Like, you would think like some parts of the show are weirdly horny, but that's just anime.
Yeah.
No, Ano like made it. There's a reason for all the weird horniness in the show. So like when Shinji brings out the postcard, it's like a picture of her and she's bent over and she had like writes a little arrow pointing to her boobs and it says check these out. So you're like, okay, that's regular anime shit, but like whatever. I'm just gonna look past it.
Yeah.
And then it she has her own thing with Kaji where she's like, no, we can't do this, but then he keeps roping her back in because yeah, he's a womanizer, but you start to learn like
He genuinely cares about her.
he does genuinely care about her, but on her side it's like when she tells the story of her father, she thinks her father just kept running away and just didn't really care about her that much. So you can tell that like not that you can tell. There's the episode where Kaji's carrying her home cuz she's drunk.
Yeah.
She explains it. She's like, I see my father in you, and that's why I can't leave. Like, and I'm scared of that. And so obviously that's like out in the open daddy issues. But then it gets worse because since she doesn't know fatherly love, she doesn't understand what love can be besides sex.
Yeah.
So when she's trying to be like a surrogate mom to Shinji, and Shinji's dealing with his own shit and it's not working. Like she's trying to help him out and she's trying to like tell him, like, it starts off again in the beginning of the show, it starts off very wholesome. She's like, listen, you did good today. People are going to be proud of what you are doing by piloting the Ava, this and that, blah, blah. And it just doesn't work. Shinji keeps on running away, and she has to keep chasing him. And Shinji keeps feeling worthless. But you can tell, like, she does care for him because during episode, I think 21 is when he gets his soul is sucked into the Ava.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then his plug suit drops out of the Ava, and she's like hugging it, and she's like, bring me back Shinji. She does genuinely care for him, but it gets to the point where she doesn't know what else to do. And
right.
the episode where Rei sacrifices herself to save Shinji,
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously in a depressed episode because one of his only friends just died.
Yeah.
So she sits on the bed and she's like, I'm sorry you're going through this. I don't know what to tell you right now. I don't know how to comfort you. I only know how to do this. And then she like grabs his hand.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of thinking like, what the fuck? And then he pulls away. He's like, don't.
Yeah.
Like do not. And then she just leaves. She apologizes. She goes, I'm sorry. And she leaves. And then it comes to a head when she dies in End of Evangelion. She's taking him to the Ava, and he's kind of throwing a tantrum. He's not talking. He's acting like a little kid. She has to pull him around, and because she's lugging him around, she got shot in the back, and as she's like bleeding out, she's trying to convince Shinji, like, listen, again, for the last time, you can't care what other people think. And you thinking people hate you, that's like on you, that's like no one really does, this and that. And she's trying to get it across to him, like, look, like, listen, there are people that care about you, but she only knows one way how to do it. And it's very uncomfortable, but I think it's uncomfortable on purpose. She ends up kissing him, and she's don't know how old she is. She's an adult. Shinji's 14. It's a very
very problematic, if we're just gonna keep it a buck.
It's problematic 100%. And I feel so weird saying this because I feel like I'm one of those guys who defended like EDP 445 for like, he just wanted a cupcake, dude. No, I'm not defending like, oh, it doesn't matter, she's an adult, he's a kid. No, I'm saying she ends up kissing him, and it's on purpose. You're supposed to not, like, in a regular show or movie, that at that point is a point where you're supposed to feel hope for the protagonist. You're like, oh shit, maybe the protagonist can do this. But you're witnessing an adult kiss a 14-year-old, and then she tells him, that's how grown-ups kiss. We'll do the rest when you get back. And you're sitting there like,
yeah, what? No, I hated that.
You're like, what the fuck what just happened?
I really hate, okay, full disclosure, like, Misato, like, in terms of, I guess, I'm not a big, like, anime waifu person, but Misato is, like, somebody for me where I'm like, oh, okay, that's, like, an anime waifu for me. That destroyed everything I built up for Misato. That destroyed literally everything. I could not, I had to pause it because I was like, what? Because obviously I knew going in, obviously she decides to replace a lot of a lot of the feelings of loneliness with sex. I understand that part. Even when Shinji has that weird voyeurism shit where he's like watching Kaji and Misato essentially have sex for a week straight. Like, that's basically what they're implying. So that's like a whole thing. I knew that's the kind of person she was. I just wasn't expecting her to do that towards Shinji. And knowing that he's a fucking child, I was like, that shit gutted me for real. I was like, oh, I was like, why? Like, that shit destroyed everything for me.
But I think my interpretation on that, 100% before anything, it is pedophilic in nature. Of course it is. But I think she said that, like, as a character, I think she said that because she knew she was dying. So she wanted to give Shinji like the feeling of being wanted, of being loved, because she explained it during Instrumentality. Asuka's like, what's the point of this? This is only an excuse to get away. And she goes, well, it makes me feel wanted, it makes me feel loved, and I like feeling wanted and loved. So exactly. I think so she was trying to give Shinji that the only way she knew how, which is problematic. It's weird. But that goes to show you how fucked up the show is, how fucked up literally everyone's psyche is.
Right, right. I love the fact that, especially in the movies, it's different. But in the original, not a single character has redeeming qualities. The only people I could say have redeeming qualities, in a sense, would probably be Kaji, and I'll get to him in a second.
Yeah.
But Kaji and Rei. Rei. You could say has redeemable qualities because it's a different version of her every time she dies. So literally every time she gets killed or something happens to her, it's a blank slate. So it's a new Rei every single time. With Kaji, you kind of see the layers with him, and obviously, yes, he's a womanizer, and that's not something you like want to have on to you as far as your personality goes. But it's not like he's cheating on people left and right and do all of this stuff to spite Misato. Like, no, that's just his like flirtatious nature.
Yeah.
Especially when he comes to Ritsuko in the beginning when he first gets introduced. Right? It's not like he's genuinely trying to fuck Ritsuko. He's just being a flirt.
Yeah,
so,
he's more of like a clown.
Exactly. But you can see underneath all the layers and the facade he puts on, he genuinely, one, cares for Misato and thinks he has a chance with her and wants her to survive and live on when he ultimately, does his job, ends up sacrificing himself, all that kind of stuff. And then also, you see he gets more enjoyment out of small things, like tending to that watermelon patch that he shows Shinji towards the end, and tells Shinji when he ultimately decides to not pilot Avis anymore, he's like, if you don't do anything else, just protect my watermelon patch. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that, where he enjoys small things like that, and you can tell he is the only positive male role model or male figure in Shinji's life moving forward. And I do think, okay, this is why I generally also liked Kaji, because, and this is my issue with Asuka, Kaji was not going for none of that shit when it came to Asuka, trying to get up on him. I genuinely applauded that. I was like, bro, thank you, Lord. Had he even tried to do something and mention it at all, I would have been so pissed off. Because Asuka's dead ass trying to do some shit with Kaji, and he's like, I'm not going for it. I think that's super dope.
Here is, and this is the part of the podcast where it's gonna blow some people's minds, I think. This is the theory that I told you. I can't tell you yet. I want to tell you on the podcast, and it's gonna make you like Kaji even more. So we talked about it before recording. The final line of End of Evangelion is disgusting by Asuka, but in Japanese it translates more into I feel sick or I feel disgusted or something like that.
Yeah.
And you said, oh, Asuka might be pregnant, or that's like
a small theory that I saw that I didn't really believe, but yeah.
It could make sense because, okay, like the translation of Neon Genesis Evangelion is like new start.
Yeah.
So that's a new start. Everyone's dead, and Shinji and Asuka have to populate the world, so it would make sense if she's pregnant. This theory that I found online, fucking, it kind of hurts to think about, and it's one of the theories that after the show ended, I kept thinking about it. So, episode 15 is the episode where Kaji carries Misato home.
Yeah.
If you remember, that is the same episode where Asuka asks Shinji, hey, I'm bored, do you want to kiss?
Yeah.
And before finishing the show, you think, oh, it's cute, they're 14-year-olds, they're going through puberty, it's a little funny. She holds his nose so he can't breathe. It's funny.
Yeah.
One of Asuka's biggest things in the show is that she doesn't want to rely on anyone.
She wants to be so much more of an adult.
And in turn, she wants to be an adult. That's why the whole show, like when you first meet her, Misato's like, "Oh, you've grown," and she's like, "Other parts of me have bloomed as well."
Yeah.
And everything about her is like, "I'm an adult. Look at me. I'm not a kid anymore." Even it's the most immature way of going about it too, because she's like, "Look, I'm an adult. Give me attention," like she's still a kid. And the biggest scene of that was when she gets on top of Kaji, and Kaji is like, "Dog, you're a kid. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?" And she like breaks her buttons, and she's like, "Look at me. I'm an adult. Look at me." And he's not looking at her.
Yeah.
So she ends up having this kind of like inferiority complex towards Shinji, but also kind of like liking him because he's kind of a pussy.
Yeah, he's definitely like a pushover for real.
It's someone that she can like kind of boss around. So she ends up like weirdly liking him because of that, but also like feels inferior to him because he's technically like the chosen one. Well, not really. It's just because Unit 1 has the soul of his mother, but whatever. That's another thing. And then she gets really fucking pissed off because obviously she has a big crush on Kaji. But when Misato comes home, she's like, that's weird. She's drunk and she's with Kaji. And then she like gives Kaji a hug. And she's like, "Oh, Kaji, can you spend the night? Can you spend the night?" And he's like, "No, I'm going home." And he like plays it off too. He's like, "Oh, they're going to laugh at me if I wear this to work tomorrow." Like, whatever. He's being Kaji. He's being funny. But but Asuka smells Misato's perfume on him.
Yeah.
And then gets in her head like, fuck, they kissed or they did something. There's something between them.
Yeah.
That happens. She gets mad. Shinji says, "What's wrong, Asuka?" And she goes, "I kissed you tonight." And then she goes to bed.
Yeah.
The rest of the show plays out. You don't think about it. During instrumentality, it connects. I swear, I'm getting to something.
Okay.
During instrumentality, and for those who don't know, or those who watched the show and didn't understand it, instrumentality is when the entire...
A giant metaphor for sex. Just putting that out there.
100%. It's like kind of like an orgy, but when... It's supposed to be when all of humanity gets turned into this one giant individual, kind of like their own angel, but no one really dies. They just go to like a personal like heaven, technically.
Yeah.
During instrumentality though, that's when everyone gets to know each other, and that's when Shinji saw Misato and Kaji do their little weak sex binge during college. It happened on Earth. She's just remembering it, and so is he, and he's seeing it.
Yeah.
Which in turn hurts him because of the whole... She's like, "Oh, we'll do this when we get back." He obviously learns like, okay, she didn't do that because she loves me. She did that for herself. But anyway.
Yeah.
Right after that, there's a really, again, uncomfortable 2-second scene. But it's not there to just be trippy, and it's not there to just be uncomfortable. It's a theory on, like, it might have happened. It's the scene where Asuka, you can tell she's naked. You can see her shoulders.
Yeah.
And she's really mad, and she yells at Shinji, "The sight of you makes me sick." But then it cuts to Shinji. He's laying down. You can tell he's also naked. And the way the camera is like angled,
positioned, yeah,
you can see that she's on top of him and her hair is down.
Yeah.
So the theory is She got so pissed that night that to make her feel like an adult, she forced Shinji into having sex.
Oh my god. Oh no.
Yeah. So
Oh no.
that episode, the theory is she forced Shinji into having sex.
Oh my god.
And it's fucked up because she only did it to feel like an adult, like she doesn't need anyone, and he accepted because he wanted to feel loved, kind of like
and he has like a weird thing with his sexuality in terms of, I mean, obviously you have 3 women in your general vicinity that you interact with on a daily basis. I guess
and you're 14.
And you're 14, so like kind of like a awakening period for you, puberty wise. And you got to think also, again, this is more of the surrogate otaku protagonist type situation. So a lot of the time, their interactions with women, albeit, you know, it may not be anything serious, but due to their lack of interaction with women, sometimes they may think of it more in a sexual way than others.
Yeah.
So if that theory if it was to hold up and it was to be accurate, that makes a whole lot of sense, because Shinji's not going to turn that down, because 1, he wants people to love him and wants to be accepted by people. 2, he has a hard time of doing things of his own volition, because he feels like as long as he does whatever everybody else tells him to do, he doesn't have to deal with anything. And 3, he's very much attracted to Asuka and potentially would want to have sex with her in some capacity. So that makes a lot of sense as a theory.
But that also clears Kaji's name, because you were like, oh, why would she be pregnant at the end? It's not Kaji.
It probably wouldn't be. It probably would be.
It might be Shinji. It might be Shinji. But also, what kind of adds volition to that theory is when she gets mentally fucked in episode 23, I think it is, when like the light of God shines on her and she's getting like dug through. It's bringing out her. The angels technically bring out her inferiority complex towards Shinji and even Rei,
right,
to the point where, like, Rei, they sent out Rei to save her, and then when they sent out Shinji to save Rei, she's like, they didn't send Shinji out for me, they must not care about me. It brings out her inferiority complex. It brings out her fear of being alone,
right?
Even though that's what she was like, oh, I could do it by myself. She doesn't want to be alone. And there are some voice lines that are very suspect. The scene where you could see the doll of her mother's head like rolling on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And you can hear her voice saying, like, in a very hushed, quiet, intimate tone, do you love me? But no, do you really love me?
Yeah.
And in this theory, people, and it's kind of true, the way she's saying it is like if it was like intimate in the middle of something, kind of implying, again, that they had sex. And there was, I don't remember if it was during instrumentality or during her mind excursion.
Yeah.
She looks at Kaji, but again, it's the scene of Kaji leaving the apartment during episode 15. Mm-hmm. And her eyes gaze over Shinji, and she yells, why are you here? You're not better than me. You're not something than me. You won't even hold me. So why are you here?
Yeah.
And then again, the whole thing, like, look, I'm an adult. Please look at me. Please look at me. And it's almost like she's talking to Shinji, which again, yeah, it's like in any other anime, this whole theory is like fan service. But in this one, it like makes it more fucked up.
Yeah, definitely a lot darker in terms of Asuka's character development too. And then you have also that part too with her kind of in the same breath as Misato too when it comes to substituting, I guess, care for sex. When there's a clip, I don't know if it's during instrumentality or whatever, but where you see the scene of her mom in the hospital bed caressing the doll that's supposed to be Asuka because her mom has a mental disorder. So it could be schizophrenia probably, or just in that regard. But there's a part where it's just Asuka as a child, and I don't know if it's like her dad talking to like either the doctor or somebody. But they make the sexual innuendo, and then you hear them having sex. And so I remember that being another thing too, where I'm just like, okay, Ava is an entire metaphor for sex. Instrumentality, when all the Avas like impale themselves in their core, they all orgasm. Just in case you didn't know.
It's very
they all
weird.
orgasm. Fucking Ray, big alien Ray has a giant vagina grow on her forehead.
And then it's an eyeball.
The detail of that actually was so
Crazy.
unsettling because literally it opens up and I was like, oh, it's gonna be a vagina, and it literally has like the clitoris right there, and I was like, oh my god,
yeah.
I was like, what is going? You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of do you remember that intro to horror class we took in college?
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god. The alien ship is a womb.
Yeah, dude. When Professor Davis was talking about how literally when the movie Alien, the entire movie was a metaphor for sex, and then like when that scene, obviously the iconic scene where the alien pokes on a buddy's stomach, and he was like, yeah, that's childbirth, and he was talking about how the alien ship all had like alien like little like sacks with embryos in them. And he's like, that's like an egg. Like the ship resembles a mother's womb, and that shit was. That's the first thing I thought of too, because I guess everything kind of revolved around sex in that regard. It was so funny, but yeah. I rock with Kaji. He's probably one of the only positive male figures in the show.
Yep.
Other than Shinji's friends like Toji and Kensuke.
Toji and Kensuke are funny. I like them.
I like Toji and Kensuke. And Hisaki. She was cool. But my favorite character was Rei, and I think Rei is obviously a fan favorite character.
Yeah.
Narratively it makes sense. I was just mad because every time something happened to Rei, a new Rei would come, and so like then she's even more impressionable. Honestly, the Rei in the movies, especially when it comes to 3.33 and 3.0 plus 1.0, that Rei was way more lifeless than the original Rei, the first Rei that pops up. But I do like how they did with that Rei, how she was a blank slate and just really wanted to learn. Like she has this kind of childlike curiosity and like the want for human interaction. And I think, again, all these characters have something to do with Ano's own mental state too. Yeah. So you have Ano, who generally like yearns for human interaction. He puts that into Rei. He has the obsessiveness of wanting to be valued through his work when it comes to Asuka. You have the need to not feel like abandoned by people and want to interact with people through Shinji. And then you have Misato placing trivial things in front of real caringness and stuff like that. And you know, it's funny. I love how Shinji and his dad Gendo are basically the same character type. It's just one took a more adult approach to their trauma than the other one did. Like Gendo, what I love about Gendo is also I actually hate about Gendo because Gendo is the worst father ever. Him and Sho Tucker are like 1A, 1B in terms of father.
Yeah.
If we're keeping it a buck, but when it comes, so like it's funny when you, the trope or the motif of having the tape recorder, right? Gendo as a child did the same thing Shinji did. Use the tape recorder to kind of escape from the world and not really want to deal with it. More so valued being alone and wanted his own space and just didn't want to talk to people until his wife Yui came along and kind of opened him up to actually talking to people. Her death causes the escapism to turn now into more of a coping mechanism as opposed to just a way he lives his life. And I think, and so then he sees, in the end, he sees Shinji, and he's actually scared of the type of person Shinji would make him out to be. So instead of him trying to reach out to Shinji and like have that connection, he just tells Shinji to get the fuck away from him. He just disses himself from it and acts like an entire dickhead because he's genuinely afraid of the kind of person he thinks his son would view him as. You know what I'm saying? And he would much rather be like a villain than have to go through his son being disappointed in him. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's so cool to have that kind of thing where both of them are on the same track. Shinji took a very immature path to it.
Yeah.
And not saying Gendo's path is more mature, but that's more of an adult thing to do, is just to disassociate. As a child, it's like, I just don't know what to do, so I'm just going to do everything that people tell me to so they don't leave me, right? That's more of a childlike way of dealing with that attachment issues. With an adult, it's like, I'm just going to disassociate. I'm just going to push everything. I'll hold everything down here, and then one day I'll die. That's basically what it is. I'll hold everything in my chest, and then one day I'll pass away, and nothing will happen.
It's touched on in the show, like when he's right before instrumentality, when Unit 1 eats him.
Yeah.
He kind of says it. He's like, I didn't know how to be a father and this and that and blah blah. It's way more fleshed out during 3.0 plus 1.0. Oh, quick side note. I know why the last movie is called 3.0 plus 1.0.
Why?
4 is a really unlucky number in Japanese culture.
I don't know that.
4 represents like death and bad luck. And this was supposed to be Anno's like happy ending for the show.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to associate it with 4, and especially 4.44. Like, that's way too many. That's way too much.
Way too many fours. Way too many fours.
So they just made it 3 plus
1.0.
3 plus 1, which equals 4, but like it's the fourth.
And then they called it Thrice Upon a Time, which doesn't make any fucking sense.
This might be a stretch. I read it somewhere that it might be a reference to a book where they write notes in the past and receive them in the future. That might be a stretch. It just might be a goofy name.
Oh man, that's crazy. That's funny. So yeah, I generally enjoyed all of the like the character arcs and how they got explored. And then my favorite, character moment. Obviously, the therapy sessions in 25 and 26, I guess I'll call them, were great, and were very dark, and they explored a lot of things. My favorite by far, though, is in 3.0 plus 1.0, where the motif of the stage,
Dude,
is deconstructed.
Dude.
And I think that was the coolest shit. Okay, so for those that, may not watch the show, or those that do watch the show, so the idea of the stage is very important when it comes to Shinji's mind state, because it's kind of like he's internalizing his struggles and watching his events play out in front of him, which again also could be another key to emphasize the fact that these storylines might be on a loop again. But that's another theory too. But so he's in 25 and 26. He's like looking at himself and looking at all the people he interacts with from the seat, looking out in front of like a stage, like it's a play, right? So then when that happens and you get to a point, I can't remember if it's in the movies or in the show, where he sees the stage around him, and then you see like when he has the interaction with his father, it's like cracking around him, and it ends up like breaking, and he ends up like doing, I think it might have been in the movies where he just kind of I think it might have been at the end of Evangelion, where he has the stage around him and it breaks, and like his whole mind state is actually like broken down to where it's kind of past the point of no return. In the movies in Thrice Upon a Time, the stage shows up twice. It shows up once during his fight with his dad, the mecha fight, where he gets thrown through a set on the stage. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
where they're fighting in different parts of, I guess, Shinji's mind state, because with the anti universe can't really form its own state. It kind of just, the mind of whoever, it gets projected onto the anti universe. So all the places that we've seen over the past 26 episodes plus the movies shows up in this fight scene, and one of them is Shinji's mind state, which is the stage. So he gets thrown through a panel on the stage and falls into like the background of it, and that kind of shows like he's starting to kind of understand, or it's like his idea of how the world view is looking is getting broken down. Then when you get to the last part where he's making amends with people and like saying his goodbyes to everybody before he rewrites the entire world through his wish, you see the stage is broken down. You see that Ava is in the backstage. You see the set pieces are broken to where they're not fully built yet. You see the cameras, which weirdly have PlayStation 2 controllers in them. I don't understand why that was the case.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't get that part, why they have cameras with PS2 controllers in there, or PS3 controllers really. And then you see the ships, you see like in the backdrop, you see all this stuff, all like the mountain ranges, like all of it's fake, right? And he's kind of talking to, I guess he's talking to the Ray from 2.22. And I thought that was the coolest shit ever, because you can kind of see where he's finally actually getting it. Mm-hmm. Where he's finally kind of come to terms with how life has gone. And again, it alludes to the fact that he's about to change everything and move forward with his life, because you keep watching these events over and over and over again without, it's like at some point in time you're gonna have to leave the venue at some point in time. And so I think that's a really cool thing of everything getting breaking down and showing that he's actually moving forward with his life. I thought that was the coolest shit. I thought it was so dope.
Okay, I want to talk about the endings of the original and the rebuild movies. Again, like I said in the beginning of the episode, if you only watch the original story, I think it holds together. I mean, the show was famous even before the rebuild movies, so I
Exactly.
think that shows testament to how good of a storyteller Anno is, even if he's depressed out of his mind. But again, the ending of the original hurts in a good way. Again, it's a Greek tragedy kind of. Shinji, the whole show, Shinji runs away, but ends up coming back because, again, he cares about what people think. I think he ends up going to the train station twice to like leave Tokyo 3.
Yeah.
But ends up getting pulled back, or decides like, no, I need to stay. And he keeps doing that.
Yeah.
He keeps wanting to leave. I'm not going to pilot the Ava, and then comes back. I need to pilot the Ava. Even if he thinks he's doing the right thing, it's because he cares what people think. Like when he comes back, when one of the angels attacks, because he's like, I need to save Ayanami, I need to save Rei. It's because he it's more of a selfish thing. It's like, I need to help Rei because she's my friend and she cared about me, not because of anything else. So the end of Evangelion, yes, he has an epiphany. He has like, oh my God, it doesn't matter what people think about me. It doesn't. It like I need to live life. I need to do this. I need to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna let you finish too. But also, it's also because he realizes that everybody that's interacted with him, minus his father, everybody that's interacted with him, genuinely likes him as a person.
Yeah.
That's the thing that kind of that was a big thing for me, because it's like, obviously you can not care what people think about you, and that is a big thing. You probably shouldn't care. Just speaking, just candidly. But once you kind of look around and see that most of the people that are within your circle that you talk to every day actually like you, like that's more beneficial for you. Like once you kind of sit here and see, okay, these people actually like me. I don't care about what other people think about me, but I can see that this person in front of me generally cares and wants me to be happy. So that's my whole thing. So
But
keep going.
But the problem with that is, like, sure, he figured it out, but that doesn't mean Asuka figured it out. That doesn't mean Misato figured it out. I don't even know if Rei has the capacity to figure shit out because she's not human.
Yeah, true.
But so the problem begins that he doesn't figure it out and move on. He figures it out and runs back. He's doing the same thing over and over again. So when he gets rejected out of instrumentality, it's not to a world where he can finally live. The world is over. The world is done, and it's only you and Asuka alive.
Yeah, but here's my thing about that too, and it kind of goes into the storyline of it, because you got to think. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, how many impacts are supposed to happen? 4.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think
there are four. There are four impacts.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, there are 4 impacts. The first impact, then there's the second impact, and then there was supposed to be the third one. I guess the near third impact, and then the fourth one was going to be the one that actually starts human instrumentality, the instrumentality product. Because that fourth impact was, remember, the deconstruction of the soul.
Yeah.
Because the third one was supposed to be the deconstruction of the human race, and then there's another one that's supposed to hit that causes everything to meld into one being, right? So I think, and this goes into my theory about everything being on a loop, or things kind of happening in order according to fate. Like story-wise, Shinji is supposed to keep relapsing because they keep needing to have impacts in order for the human instrumentality project to actually happen. They kept trying it with other impacts because they thought that would work, but once they realized that Shinji's the X factor to having every single impact, that's what makes it. That's what makes the plan come together. So, like from a character arc development wise, yeah, it sucks because Shinji keeps relapsing and not learning anything for real. But narratively, it makes sense why he's not learning anything because he's supposed to, because there are 4 impacts supposed to happen. That's basically what my thing.
But and here's where now I'm going to talk about the ending of Thrice Upon a Time and why it's so satisfying. It's because you can tell he's had a character development and he's more confident and he's like, I know what I got to do, and he's talking to everyone. But like he actually learns this time, and like you said, it is looping because in the movies when Koaro wakes up, he's on the moon and there's like a bunch of coffins before him that have opened, and then there's more that are closed around him. And
he said he'd had to do that for an eternity. Yeah, so it's a loop every time.
It keeps going around and around. But like this time, when Shinji's like, look, I'm gonna make a world where like Evas don't exist, where Evas never existed. I think the biggest example of him moving forward is not only because at the end it shows a world like Shinji's on a train platform as an adult, and on the other train platform it's Koaru and Rei, and they're talking. Yeah. Asuka's on her phone. I think Kensuke's next to her. The class rep is there. All his friends are on the other platform, and he doesn't talk to them. And you think like, oh shit, like he doesn't know anyone. But the biggest example of him moving forward, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people thought was like whatever, but I think it's really good symbolism, is the fact that he ends up with Mari, who's a new character introduced in the Rebuild movies, and she's not really fleshed out as a character until like the last movie, kind of.
Yeah.
But it shows that like he doesn't have to run back to Asuka. He doesn't have to run back to Misato. He doesn't have to run back to Rei. He can let them live their life. Like he understands. I'm a toxic person. They're toxic people. We can't help each other out. I'm gonna make a world where they can finally just live their life, and they won't ever know about me. They won't remember me, and I'll remember them. But that's fine as long as they're happy. Which I think is pretty much the point, because like when Mari comes up behind him, she takes off his choker.
Yeah.
Which symbolizes that they both remember what happened. I'm pretty sure they both remember.
Because she came to go pull him out of the thing, so it makes sense as to why she would know.
Which I think it was supposed to be her and Asuka, but Asuka dies. You know? So she couldn't pull
wasn't he trying to go get Asuka?
No,
like when he tried to pull her out of the core, right? Wasn't he?
They kind of do, because the whole thing was like, Mari was like, "Oh, Princess's soul might still be in the core, so if you can, go get her," which they do, and it's a cool reference because when he meets her in the core, it's on the shore of the end of Evangelion, like the Red Sea is there.
Yeah,
but I don't know if you noticed. Did you notice like her plug suit was all ripped up? Yeah. Do you know why?
It's I thought it was like when she was going through that fight, her plug suit got fucked up.
She's finally aged. She doesn't have the curse of the Avas anymore. She's 28 in that show.
Oh, so she starts like the plug suit doesn't fit her anymore.
That's why it's all ripped up. It's tight. She's finally 28, and she looks older. I don't know if she does. They show her for like 2 seconds, but she does finally look older.
Yeah, and she does look old in the face.
And then he talks about it. He's like, "Oh, did you like you said you liked me as a kid. I liked you too, but that can't happen anymore. Like I know you grew up. You're past that. I'm in a different stage in my life because again, he was in a coma for 14 years. I'm not gonna make you go through that. Like, go live your life." And then Mari tells her like, "Go take care of yourself." And then fucking boom, she's awake in the Ava again. But if Asuka never sacrificed herself, I think it would be Asuka and Mari remembering what happened, what took place. But I think narratively, it's a better example that like now he's with Mari, now he's it's pretty implied that they're dating. He's like, "Oh, cute girl with big boobs," like, but that's him. You know, technically getting over his depression, getting over the girl. You know, he's
actually flirting like a regular person.
She even like blushes. She's like, "Oh, you're confident now."
He actually has a real conversation where he's not looking at the ground and he's not like just saying, "Okay, yeah." Like he's genuinely having a conversation. I think that was the coolest thing ever. So I guess the topic you were getting on. It's a pretty good segue into our theories. I know you already shared one, but do you have like another theory? I know I have two that I kind of want to talk about. That they're kind of quick, but do you have any other like longer theories at all?
Not that I know. Not really theories, just weird religious shit because I grew up Catholic. But go ahead with yours. I just talked a lot about the ending, so you go ahead.
It's no big deal. So I have two. One of them is Unit 0 is actually has Nakawa Akagi's soul in it. Ritsuko's mom. And here's
explain.
Okay, so hear me out. Okay, so when you know how like I don't know how like since Rei is not a human, it's a lot easier for her to synchronize with Ava's, right? So obviously it's easier for Shinji to synchronize with his Ava because of the fact that it's his mom's soul.
And same thing with Asuka, her mom's
and
in it too.
and a lot of them, and a lot of the manufactured Avas, all the mass-produced ones, don't have souls in them. So obviously, Unit Zero is like the first prototype they used, and remember, Akagi murders Kid Ray. When you look back at her character arc, she murders Kid Ray and gets killed subsequently herself. And so when Unit Zero goes berserk in the testing lab on 2 separate occasions, one time it attacked Gendo, and another time it attacked Ray.
Yeah, it was trying to get to Ray. Oh my god.
When you flash back to Gendo first trying out Unit Zero, it attacks him. But when you look at, like, when they're in the movies, when you watch the original Ava and Ray's staying there in the window, it tries to headbutt through the glass to kill Ray. Because one, she doesn't like Ray, because Akagi doesn't like Ray because Gendo spent more time with Ray than he did with her because they had a romantic relationship going on. And
with Yui.
With Yui, yeah. Yui. And then so like every time Unit Zero went berserk, whether that be in the movies or whether that be in a flashback or whether that be in the original show, it's Akagi's soul because she's trying to kill Ray, kill Gendo for wronging her.
Wow. I didn't get this when I first saw the show. She doesn't get killed. She kills herself.
Yeah, I saw that.
She jumps off the platform. That's why when I
But
saw
wait, that doesn't make any sense because when she chokes Kid Ray out, you hear a gunshot, and then when you like look at when they pan down to her like chalk outline, it's like a huge speck of blood, trailing off.
Yeah,
so
but the blood is also on top. There's like a little shelf thing.
Yeah.
So it's because she doesn't know Ray is a clone of Yui, kind of. Yeah. She just thinks Ray's a kid. So she realizes, like, what? I just choked out a kid. I just killed a kid. What the fuck? One, I just killed a kid. 2, the man I love has been manipulating me and calls me an old hag behind my back.
That was foul.
So she jumps off the platform, and obviously as she falls, she hits her head on the shelf and then splats.
Okay, thinking about it now, that makes sense. Because I just remember when she actually kills Ray, I thought I heard a gunshot. That could have just been her jumping off and hitting a platform.
But your theory does make sense because, again, Unit Zero is the prototype. 1, 2, the whole Magi system is supposed to be her.
Yeah.
So the Magi system being like in prototype 0, because when it goes berserk the second time, when it tries to kill Ray, it's using the dummy plug.
Yep.
So like there's this whole thing. Wow, that's really fucking cool. I've never really thought of that. That's really cool.
Yeah. I guess so. Then my second one is more not about the show per se, but just more so just in general. My theory is End of Evangelion is a big middle finger to Evangelion fans, and here's here's why. So when you look at the ending of the original Evangelion, right? Obviously, in the year 1995, people didn't like it. The people who generally liked like the mental aspect and digging into people's psyche, people liked that ending for that. But you also got to think about this. This is a mecha anime. Like it's about mechs fighting monsters. Regardless of all the other mental stuff on it.
Yeah.
It's about mechs fighting monsters. So you would assume, if you're not even thinking about the mental aspect of things, you would assume that the last 2 episodes would have a giant mecha fight to finish the whole thing. Right? You see with every single mecha anime. You see it with Gurren Lagann, you see it with Gundam Wing, you see it with 86. You see with so many mechas. It's this big bombastic fight that ends everything with crazy flashy stuff, crazy animation, explosions, everything. And you get your expectations subverted through 2 episodes of real life stills, technically bad at abstract avant-garde animation, but it's really, budget cuts and time constraints. And then not even having a mecha fight in it. It's just people sitting in a chair mentally dumping out their trauma. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So fans of the mecha version of mecha part of Neon were pissed off, and they didn't like it. So it's so much so that they started writing bad reviews, started calling Hideki Anno out of his name, and started sending death threats to Gainax. So he made End of Evangelion and ended it that way to say fuck you to all those fans, because he had all like the big blah stuff, only for the ending to not be complete because he was that pissed off. Like if you watch like the end of Evangelion, you see, like those random papers with Japanese words on them, and like all the spray paint on walls and shit. Those are pictures that people took, that he took, after the original had ended. Like they were like reviews that were talking shit about Hideki Anno as a person, not as a producer, about the media he's putting out as a person. Then you see people spray painting on the walls at the entrance of Gainax, death threats.
Jesus.
And so since he had this kind of pent up anger, like I think if you really look at End of Evangelion, it's a very angry piece of media.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's unhinged. It's unhinged because of like the nature of everything. But if at its core, it's a very angry movie. Like it's nothing about it is like simple or like smooth or subtle. Like it's very angry and upset about something.
Yeah, and
so
like it's nothing about End of Evangelion is happy, like nothing
at all.
Like Asuka's death. Like, if he was regular mad, he could have had Asuka die off screen, and like people would get pissed about that. No, she got fucked up, and you see her arm get split in half. You see that shit. She's looking up at the sky, and she's repeating, "I'll kill you, I'll kill you." And then you're probably thinking, cause her Ava like lifts up kind of. So you're like, oh, she's about to go berserk. Nope.
And then you just see.
It's
crazy.
It's not only is it maddening, it's horrifying. It's scary.
Yeah. It's super crazy.
Because
but, I think it's
the artificial Avas, the way they eat her Ava, they look like birds at the beach when you throw bread out.
Yeah.
It's very creepy.
Yeah, I just think it's that's why I think it's just a big like FU to all the fans that may have been mad the fact that they didn't get their huge, I guess, fight. But then if you stuck around, obviously I guess the luxury of having all the media already out and us to just click on the next one makes it way easier. Because then we can I'm not as mad about how shit ended because I know there's something else coming after it, right?
Yeah, I know what the ending is. Yeah.
Right. So you have all that. You go from Evangelion, then you go to the Rebuild movies. So and you get all that mecha action, especially in 3.33 and 3.0 plus 1.0, where you see like when Mari whipping that guy, and like having this big thing where she's like fighting all these makeshift Avas, and you get the final fight with Gendo and Shinji, which the anime portions of that fight is great. The part where they're all in CG looks like a PlayStation 3 cutscene, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not a fan of that part, but yeah, I do think as far as theories go, the one I like the most when it comes to Asuka's character is definitely the ending part where Shinji is killing her, because the dub makes it the difference between the sub and the dub makes theories work better than others. Mm-hmm. With the dub, she says how disgusting at the end, because I'm pretty sure, like I guess from my perspective, and you texted me this too, she wanted to die in that instance. She definitely wanted to. She wanted Shinji to kill her.
Yeah, she realized there's no one to protect anymore. There's no reason for me to be alive. So So as Shinji's choking her out, she touches his cheek as a thank you.
Yeah.
But then he's so mentally fucked up that when she touches his cheek, he's like, fuck, if I kill her, I'm not going to get the love that I want. So then he stops killing her, and then she gets pissed, and she's like, basically saying, wow, this guy's such a pussy. Like,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
This is what I'm stuck with.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything, I know kind of past the theories, is there anything you didn't like about the series at all?
I have one more thing to talk about before that.
Okay, go ahead.
Because we haven't talked about the original show has a lot of biblical names in it. Biblical names, biblical references. Like, literally, like, there's Adam. There's Lilith, who is a biblical character. And the Avas are Eve. Because the Avas are created by pieces of Adam, just how Eve was created by the rib of Adam. So there's all that, which makes it creepy for me growing up Catholic. I hate when biblical shit, not hate like in a sense where I'm disrespected, hate because it creeps me out when biblical stuff is made to look like evil.
Right.
Hate in a good way though, because I love I love feeling that despair, especially again because I grew up Catholic. It's supposed to not be creepy, but it makes me feel hopeless in a good way.
Yeah.
Not only that though, Kawaru's character. I think there's something there because like I saw the Netflix dub, and while it is acted very well, I do like the Netflix dub. I heard or I read they kind of changed up a few of the lines regarding Kawaru. As a straight man, I don't think it changed that much because I did find it still a little homoerotic between them.
Yeah.
But apparently it's supposed to be more. It's like
he's supposed to go like a lot harder than he did.
Kawaru was supposed to say shit like "I love you," not shit like "You're worthy of my grace."
Yeah.
But Kawaru ends up still saying "I like you," which I was like, okay, this is weird because Kawaru ends up being an angel, so he doesn't. There is no sexuality there. It's just he's attracted to who he's attracted, and Kawaru ends up saying it in one of the movies. He says that he's attracted to Shinji, and Shinji, you could kind of tell Shinji's into Kawaru too, and I think that's because like Kawaru's the first person to be straight up just nice.
Yeah.
Like, it's not Asuka being like a little kid crush where it's like, I'm gonna hit him. It's not Misato, because Misato doesn't know what love is and she's like kind of fake sometimes. Ray's not a human, so she doesn't know how to feel.
Process love. Exactly.
So it's the first person to ever just be like nice to him. So growing as a 14-year-old, you're in the middle of puberty. He gets confused. Because there's a line in the show. Kawaru's like, "It's getting late," and Shinji's like, "Can I sleep here?" Because he didn't want to go back to Misato's place. And Kawaru says, "Together?" And he goes, "Whoa, no."
Yeah.
So it's still there, and like he has a weird attraction to him. When he had to kill him, he couldn't get it out of his head that Kawaru was an angel. He saw Kawaru fly, and he saw Kawaru do all this shit, but was still like, I can't believe I killed him. Like he did. Yeah. He was weirdly attracted. He was confused because, again, growing up, 14-year-old, hitting puberty, growing up, especially in the 90s, where it's like it was weird to be gay.
Really taboo to be homosexual and to be gay. Yeah, it's weird.
Kawaru is technically his fourth love interest.
If you really want to call it like that, yeah, that's true. That's true.
But
I just think the funniest thing is Kaiji also didn't do him any favors either with his
the joke.
his sexuality identity because
Nope.
because that shit was that scene was actually really funny.
You want to go on a date? And he's like, no.
And he like leans in like trying to kiss him, and then like you hear the scream. That shit was actually funny. But yeah, I generally liked Kaworu as a character too, and I think when you see the fact that Kaworu's been living on a loop, I wonder at one point, I guess just theoretically speaking, I wonder at what point in that loop did he decide he actually is attracted to Shinji? Was it the first time it happened, or was it like the fifth or sixth time it happened? And then also, when they say, like, when Kaworu and Kaji are talking, and he says, you making Shinji happy is not going to bring you happiness. Like, you're happy when, like, making Shinji happy. That's not going to be how you yourself get happy. And I think that was, like, a really cool, like, thing to explore. Because you don't really explore Kawaru's mental state at all until the last, like, maybe 15 minutes of the movie. Because obviously he's an angel, so angels aren't, you know what I'm saying? He's a character, but he's a first angel, so you're not really expecting him to have this kind of mental character arc attached to him. But I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, when he wakes up in the movies, his like one of his first lines is like, I swear this time I'm gonna make you happy, Shinji. Yeah. So obviously he is attracted to him, and it might be from the show. It might be from that, because I do think in the movie Rei and Kaworu both got played by Gendo.
Yeah,
because of the whole spears thing. And you know what? This is a great segue of you.
So we didn't like Shinji. Holy shit! Dude. Could not be more of a dumbass in 3.33. Holy shit! Oh my god,
dude! You and the thing I really do like about 3.33 is they flesh out their relationship. Kaworu and Shinji are. It makes sense why they would at least care for each other, whether it be homosexual or platonic. It makes sense. Kawaru's telling Shinji, "Hey, listen, we need the spear of Longinus and the spear of Cassius. If we have those two spears, we can redo the world, and it can go back to the way it was before." They get to the spears, and Kaworu, the one that knows this shit, the one that told you about this, is telling you, "Look, those are not the right spears. Don't touch them." And Shinji's like, "What do you mean?" And he doesn't listen. He keeps going for them. And it's so infuriating how Kawaru's literally sitting next to him. He's literally, it's not like over the phone or through, no, he's telling you, don't fucking touch the damn spears. And he still doesn't. No. I was so fucking pissed. Holy shit.
Real quick, let me use the bathroom. We'll come back. I'll talk about what I didn't like.
Go ahead. Yeah.
And we're back. We're back. Okay, so what I didn't like, I guess it's not really a thing like what I didn't like, but I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but Asuka is a bottom tier waifu. 100%. Yeah, Asuka is a bottom tier. Okay, I don't know if it's a hot take or not, because I know people generally like Asuka. She's a bottom tier waifu. I am fully aware of the emotional trauma and the coping mechanisms associated with that emotional trauma. But you cannot sit there and tell me that somebody with their head that far up their ass is somebody you're genuinely attracted to, regardless of how hot they look. And she's fucking 14.
I was about to say.
But I guess this is marketed towards young kids, so I understand. Well, I mean, I don't even know if it's marketed towards young kids, 'cause with the emotional trauma, but like most of the people consuming the media should be in the teen area. So if I was 14 and watching the show, it'd be a little bit different for me saying which characters I'm attracted to. But me being a grown man, obviously I'm not going to be attracted to and hold a 14-year-old in that waifu category. It's just not going to happen. But for those that do, you know.
Yeah. And here's
for
the
those
thing.
that do, you're weird, but Asuka is if you're going to have the tier list of waifus, whether they be underage or not, Asuka is a bottom tier, like not even scratching the surface to being a good waifu. You cannot sit there and tell me she is.
Yeah, I think before watching the show, obviously I knew there was the whole battle between Misato, Asuka, and Rei. And when I first started watching the show, I think I texted you. I was like, why is this even a conversation? They're 14. That's odd. But again, yeah, she's an interesting character. But that doesn't mean
no doubt.
That does not mean that she is a likable character. Just like fucking Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. Interesting character. Crazy piece of shit. But interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I guess fucking Misato isn't technically the best either. But she's an adult, and if you're an adult, stop being a creep.
Yeah, I mean, I would take, Misato. Again, I can't really take a certain. The only person I really could take, generally speaking, is probably Iruki. Or probably Iruki. I could probably take Ritsuko, maybe, because she's an adult as well.
She's also kind of fucked up, though.
She's crazy. Ritsuko's actually crazy. But like Misato, I guess, is like probably like the better of the women characters, even though my entire, I guess, level for her crumbled when at end of Evangelion, because I was like, why would you do this? But okay, yeah, again, if you like Asuka as in the waifu category and you hold her up to this high standard, something is wrong with you. It might be you just, the whole, step on me thing is a thing now. Not kink shaming, not doing that. But you cannot sit there and tell me that somebody that self-absorbed, regardless of the emotional trauma, I understand that part. That part. And I understand that her doing that is a coping mechanism, but
no, she's definitely
you can't sit there and tell me she's not. You don't want to slap the shit at her. And I'm playing. No. JK.
I will never.
You're here telling me you're not actually pissed off. I'm pissed off when she comes on screen. You can't sit there and tell me you won't.
I forgot what comedian said this. If I'm correct, it might be Bernie Mac. I will never hit a woman, but I'll shake the shit out of one.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I'll shake the shit out of you. That's crazy.
Rest in peace, Bernie Mac. Great
Rest in
comedian.
Peace. Rest in peace.
The last thing I want to talk about, I'm sending you a picture now on your phone. And whoever edits this can put it up on screen.
Okay.
So check it real quick.
Okay.
You know how the English titles of the movies, they all have the not in them.
Yeah.
Like, you are not alone, you cannot advance. In Japanese, it's I'm not gonna pronounce it correctly. I'm just gonna say it in English. Evangelion Shin, whatever, Joe. Evangelion Shin. I'm gonna try to say it. Jeki Joban, Joe. Okay, let me just say Evangelion. It's Evangelion Joe, Evangelion Ha, Evangelion Q, and then Evangelion. Then there's like 2 lines, and in that picture that I just sent you, the first 2 symbols, the Japanese symbols, are Joe,
Yeah.
Joe, and Ha. looking at this, reading this, the concept of Joha Q roughly corresponds to beginning, middle, and end. And it originates from music. So,
Yeah.
Jo and Ha are in Japanese characters. Q is the letter Q because 3.33 is also called
You cannot redo.
Evangelion you cannot redo, but it's also Evangelion Q, like quickening. Don't understand why, but quickening is English. So
Yeah.
that's why Q is represented as the letter Q in that little promotional thing that I just sent you. And
Yeah.
behind 3.0 plus 1.0, the two lines, it says it here, according to a article published by Anime News Network, it is the repeat sign that goes at the end of like when you read music.
Yeah.
So I think this little theme that they're doing with this promotional picture it's very interesting. It's like if it was a grand fucking orchestra.
Yeah. Yeah, and music also plays a huge role in just Ava and telling the story in general. Like the very unsettling parts where somebody's dying, like when Toji is an Ava pilot, and the scene of him getting killed is like for some reason a very upbeat kind of song, which is generally unsettling. Then you have it happen again with Asuka, same thing happened. Then
I find that so terrifying. A light shines upon Asuka, and to make it creepier, they're playing, I forgot what it's called, but it's dun 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 dun.
Oh, it's I know what it's about. It's a Beethoven song, I think.
It's a Beethoven like orchestra, like it's triumphant music while Asuka is being mentally like just fucked.
Yeah,
it's so scary. It's so scary.
Yeah. The use of music is very good at telling that unhinged type of story. So yeah, I think it makes sense as to why the promotional music would have like musical references kind of intertwined with them, and it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, the way they tell the story and the way they kind of contrast what's supposed to be, like because when you have that kind of music, that Beethoven symphony song, that's supposed to represent like the triumphant like word of God coming down onto earth and like and having prosperity. But when you have that light and you have that music and you have that light, it kind of subverts the expectation. So you think, oh, it's like this really cool, this light where God's shining down on humans, but then you cut to somebody generally having a traumatic experience through showing God. And I think also too, it's cool. Like if you think of it from a biblical sense, like when angels would come down to earth and talk to humans, their light and sometimes would be very scary. So humans would not look at angels when they would come down and descend and talk to people. And so I think that's a reference to that, where angels will try to communicate with humans, but their light is too bright. It's almost to the point where it could kill them. So I think that's having those biblical references in there is also pretty cool. And I guess slightly knowing biblical history makes the watch a little bit more enjoyable too, if you kind of catch some of those references. But yeah, that's another thing. So, oh man, I told you we were gonna go close to 2 hours, but
yeah, bro, there was so much to talk about.
Oh, but I hope you didn't get lost in this episode. I hope people actually listen to this all the way through. But
I think
I
did want to talk about Kawaru a little bit, so I'm pretty sure we talked about most things.
We got everything, yeah. Do you have any music recommendations at all?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Bet.
As a single, I recommend EXP Share by X Society. I sent it to you.
Yeah, that song goes crazy.
X Society, again, it's Kill Bill, Rav, Square, Aerospace. The song is nutty. They're all on it. It's the first song that they all do together. It's super, super just like boom bap, bob your head. I enjoyed it. It's a very, very, very good song. Again, excited for what these guys have to do this year. And as an album, I've been listening to a lot actually. I might just recommend if you do like EXP Share by these guys, listen to Azalea by Aerospace himself. It's an album he dropped last year.
Gotcha.
It's kind of depressing, but so is Evangelion. So if you're into that kind of stuff, I like Azalea by Aerospace.
Gotcha. I guess for me as a single, Cautious Clay dropped a song called Rapture in Blue. It's a single. I don't know if it's a single off of the, I guess, deluxe version of Deadpan Love that he's coming out with. I have no clue, but the cover art looks like it might be a deluxe edition. But Rapture in Blue is a great song from Cautious Clay. If you know anything about his work, he's just a phenomenal musician, singer, and also the way he constructs a song is really really cool. And then also, I don't know how to pronounce this artist's name. I think it's just either Bathe or Bath. I can't remember. It's Bathe. I don't know if it's Bath with just an E on the end of it or not. But the I guess it's an EP, or album. It's called Bicoastal. Very smooth R&B, not really hip hop centered, which I'm a huge fan of. I'm not a big fan of R&B that's more hip hop centric. I just like more just smoother R&B singles and ones that are a little more experimental. And he does a good job with this. The songs are all really smooth. He sings really well. Everything's kind of constructed into a very easy listen. It's only 9 songs, like a 25-minute tape. You could probably run through that pretty easily. So go ahead and definitely check that out. But you got anything else you want to say, Zoe?
No. If you haven't watched the show, watch it. It's very good. I can say it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Please,
watch the show.
Cool fun fact. Utada Hikaru does the end music for Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0. I don't listen to J-pop or K-pop, but I will download her music because I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan.
Bet, yeah. The Disney cult leader himself. No, I'm playing. Yeah, but that is basically it. We almost got to 2 hours, which I assumed we were going to. I hope you stuck around the whole time, please. Please stick around the whole time because we talk about a lot. And if you have anything you want to talk about with us, feel free to add us on Twitter. Shoot us a message on Instagram. Go in the YouTube comments when this releases because we'd love to kind of hear from you guys. Again, at Nost plus Ultra on Twitter. Nostalgia plus Ultra, all one word, on Instagram, and then on YouTube, same name. Just come subscribe and leave a comment, like the video if you enjoyed it. Also, please watch Evangelion. It's a great show. You can take a lot from it. I know personally, in my own experience watching the show, there are a lot of things that I've taken from the show moving forward that I can definitely apply to my own life, even though my situation may not be heavily have a lot of trauma within it, but there are a lot of things you can definitely take from it. So I again appreciate you guys listening in. Again, follow us everywhere, interact with us. We'd love to hear from you. So that has been us. I've been Nostalgia, as told by Zoe. See you guys next time. Peace.